And it also requires not just using the best, but creating the best. So a lot of what we do is create new technology. So that's, in sum, the secret for creating world-changing software.
Estamos desarrollando software disruptivo para cambiar el mundo. La innovación está en nuestro ADN. ¿Quieres saber cuáles son los desafíos a los que nos enfrentamos a diario? Conoce la experiencia que hemos logrado con la creación de nuestros productos de software.
Hola, buenas noches. Those are the only two words I really know in Spanish. So, obviously you came here for the topic, how do you build software that changes the world? Not normal software, not outsourcing software, not software where customers ask you, give you requirements, and you get it done, but software that changes the world. It is a coincidence that 15 years ago, in June 2007, Steve Jobs got up on the podium and said, the world is going to change today. And the world did change that day, because we got this iPhone. And today, 2 billion people have smartphones. Nobody thought that you can have technology go so far, so fast. So before we discuss how to build a software that changes the world, let's discuss what is that software that changes the world. What are the examples of those software? I just talked about iPhone. iPhone meaning all kinds of mobile apps. One of them being Uber. Now let me tell you a story. I was coming to Bolivia and I flew in.
Venía hacia Bolivia y en el vuelo que llegaba.
Where did I fly in? Yeah.
Bogotá, Santa Cruz.
No, not Bogota. From Bogota to, I landed in Bolivia. I blanked out. You know, your city.
Santa Cruz.
Santa Cruz. I flew into Santa Cruz, and I had Sunday to myself, because Monday I was going to be in Cochabamba. And I was with Sagar, our Director of Product Management. So we had a free day, and we decided to go to the main square. And then I realized, after seeing the main square and the cathedral, what do we do next? So I took the phone and dialed, but I didn't dial. I just selected one of our project managers who lives in Santa Cruz, Valeria, and said, hey, what should I go? I love art. Are there art stores? We need to get lunch, get food. What else can we visit? In 5 minutes, she sent me 6 links. I clicked on the link. It was a Google Map link, and it showed me an art store and it showed me the directions, walking directions to that store. We walked to that store, and in 1 hour, we visited 3 stores within 1 kilometer. And then we realized that the lunch place was far. So all we had to do was click Uber and get a cab to the lunch place. I enjoy good food. I enjoy native food. So I wanted Santa Cruz original food, and I wanted Bolivian food. And so we went to an authentic restaurant. And of course, everything was in Spanish. So then again, I used my phone to read virtually what was on the menu, the butterflies at the zoo. So we had a whole day, and that whole day was very different compared to 20 years ago, what it had been. Beautiful weather, relaxed and without stress, in a completely new city, but no stress at all. We could go anywhere we wanted to, eat anywhere we wanted to, visit art places and zoos however we wanted to, all because of technology. Next slide. So obviously, you see what happens when you evolve. We had mobile phones. We had flip phones for some time. There were 200 million of them, Motorola, Nokia. And then we had BlackBerry, which was an evolution of that phone. But iPhone was not just a phone. It was a disruptive technology. It completely changed the landscape.
And
Next slide. Similarly, taxis are a thing of the past. Where I live, I never take taxi. It's always Uber. But before we go forward, I want some interaction. Anybody want to talk about or just name your favorite innovative software? Google what?
Pedidos Ya, it's an order app that delivers to your house.
Okay, okay.
Google Maps.
Go ahead. Twitter, okay.
Twitter.
LinkedIn es una red social que a nivel mundial está muy ya entrelazado con las informaciones virtuales, datos, enlaces virtuales. A nivel mundial se puede publicar todo tipo de archivos, videos, audios, comunicados, publicidad, marketing, etc.
Go ahead. Google Drive, okay. All right, next slide. Oh, go ahead, go ahead. What did he say? Stack Overflow, okay.
Stack Overflow.
Now that's a geek. Software is changing. So you see 4 companies. In US, they talk about those 4 companies. Apple, Google, Amazon, and Facebook, which is now Meta. Obviously, there is a lot of other companies as well, but these companies have created disruptive technologies. Amazon, you can buy anything at any point of click, and it arrives at your door the same day or next day. We have Alexa, where you can talk to all kinds of devices, smartphones, and smart homes, essentially. So you know these companies, and what they have done is created software which is changing the way we live. So at Digital Harbor, I will focus on what we do, but then again, this is a general talk. Go ahead. We are focusing on software which is going to change the way we work. And when I say change, I mean change. It will truly change the way we work. So how do I actually introduce that to you? So let's take in business the way we work. What do we use? We use chat, we use email, we use CRM, ERP, incident management, all kinds of different applications, word processing and productivity suites, PowerPoint, forms. Forms are the core of business in general. So these are all the different kinds of things today we do. But notice these pictures. They don't look like anything like Google or Uber or anything like that, right? That's the tragedy of business software. So we decided that we need to change that.
¿De dónde vienen estas ideas? Me pregunto un poco. Si son del equipo o de los clientes, o es que tal vez algún líder tiene el tiempo suficiente para soñarlas. ¿Son de soñadores? Un poco quería ver de dónde vienen estas visiones.
From all of the above. Mostly from us, few from the customers. I would say 90% from us. And there are a lot of people, 3 of them here, for example, but we have I will talk about now how we do this, right? And so in order to answer your question, let me actually talk about the next thing. So now how do we develop innovative software that changes the world? So 3 key elements: people, process, technology. So let's talk about people, the question you asked. Let's watch this video for a few minutes.
If you've learned a lot about leadership.
So the short answer, it requires crazy people. You have to be crazy to want to dream up new ideas. You have to be crazy to invest in them. And then you have to be crazy to follow people like me. In addition to the fact that you have to have the people who are crazy, you have to have an environment that is crazy. These are the photographs of our Bolivia office. It looks like a spaceship. So in order to create world-changing software, you have to think outside the box. So that's the first step. Find people who are ready to be crazy. The second part is invent a process. So at Digital Harbor, we created a new agile process. It's not your normal Scrum or Kanban. It's a modified part. We call it the WOW agile process. It's focused on WOWs. So I'm not going to go through the entire process, but basically we take high-level requirements or vision and divide it into must-have concepts and WOW concepts. The WOW concepts require fobbing. Fob, fun on the job. And from fobbing, we create designs and then rapid prototypes. And from there, we follow the normal agile. Although we actually have to change the way we do QA, and we have to define and reconfigure our plans and reconfigure our software all the time. The point is, you can't build world-changing software with the same process that you do outsourcing. And the last part is technology. So obviously, the things you saw are built on top of next-generation technology stack. From front-end interfaces in Angular and Node.js, to Spring Boot and Spring Cloud, to event-driven architectures, to predictive analytics, to artificial intelligence, to machine learning, to data graph-based databases. This is all next-generation technology. And it also requires not just using the best, but creating the best. So a lot of what we do is create new technology. So that's, in sum, the secret for creating world-changing software. Hire and encourage craziness, follow a creative process, and use creative technologies. So I know I had you wait a long time,
Así que bueno, después de
but
tanto
the actual
tiempo,
secret is quite simple. So thank you, and we'll open the floor to questions.
Rohit, can you tell us more about FOB?
Well, I just talked about it.
Yeah.
FOB is kind of like brainstorming, except that it's creative brainstorming. It is to essentially reimagine ideas. And so we do that a lot, okay? And we have actually process to do fobbing in creative processing. It's important to understand that you may not believe this, but 2 out of those 3 pieces of software that you saw were built in Bolivia. One of them was based on Bolivia-US collaboration.
What happens if someone does not know this technology? How can anyone learn about them?
Well, all they need is attitude. At Digital Harbor, we run boot camps. And during that boot camp, we make them familiar with all the technology that's required. Some of our best performers come out of boot camp. If you want to change world-changing software, it's not that hard. Just apply yourself to learn those technologies, and you can learn them on the job.
What type of language would you recommend to learn to someone that wants to join Digital Harbor?
Si en mi equipo está muy importante, si las personas tienen una historia como de Angular, de Java, de JavaScript, esos son los mejores que nosotros necesitamos.
¿Qué tanto le prestan atención a la investigación para poder desarrollar cosas nuevas?
Siempre estamos pensando de qué son las cosas nuevas. Por ejemplo, en uno de mis equipos tenemos reuniones, sabemos de hacer muchos por semana, ¿no? de hacer el software agile, pero dentro de esos también tenemos reuniones cuando hablamos del FOB. No sé si decimos eso, pero FOB es fun, es divertido, en job, en las
De
tareas,
trabajar.
¿no? Entonces, no debo decir gastamos, pero hay mucho tiempo en que hablamos de cualquier cosa. No importa si es algo que estamos haciendo para las tareas, tenemos que hacer eso, podemos hablar de cualquier cosa. Y es interesante que de vez en cuando hay ideas significativas que vienen de eso. Entonces, Sí, nos gusta hablar de cualquier cosa y son interesantes, pero lo hacemos durante la semana. Scott lo hace ¿cuántas veces por semana?
Por semana reunimos con la FAB como 2-3 veces y lo hacemos, bueno, depende, ¿verdad? Porque lo FAB para nosotros es lo más importante. The research para investigar las tecnologías y todo eso es muy importante, pero está la junta de estos con la investigación de nosotros imagina, ¿verdad? ¿Cómo te dice? Imaginamos, sí, está bien. Pero sí, tiene que estar los dos, ¿verdad? No investigamos solamente la tecnología. La tecnología está aquí para para servir a la imagen.
Y también hemos de decir que sí tenemos personas bien inteligentes. Pueden ver que Rohit es muy, muy inteligente y hace innovación, hace todo eso. Pero nosotros creemos que necesitamos innovar de dos niveles, de QA, de los productos, de los proyectos, en cualquier posición que están. Personas están usando software y tienen ideas. Y si hay alguien que quiere hacer algo nuevo o hablar con nosotros de cualquier lado, queremos oír de eso. Entonces, es una cosa de toda la compañía.
Hola, buenas noches. Felicitaciones por la charla y por tan interesante herramienta que están produciendo. Mi pregunta es, ¿cómo dividen el trabajo entre las tres sedes, Estados Unidos, India y Bolivia? ¿Cada sede tiene un trabajo específico o hacen los tres lugares lo mismo? ¿Y en qué se diferencian los programadores de Bolivia con respecto a los demás?
It's a very good question.
Gran pregunta.
I think that you have to have a powerful vision to unite three countries. So ultimately, our vision unites our people. But we do compartmentalize. We have different products, in some cases built in different countries. But we also have several products that are built in 2 or 3 countries together. So for example, Social Forms is built in collaboration of US and Bolivia. Another product that was not shown, called Yeti, is built in collaboration between India and Bolivia.
Mi consulta más sería en el lado de lo que es la seguridad dentro del software, ¿no? Me preocupa un poco, esto es un software que se quiere utilizar de una forma cotidiana, tal vez es información que es muy clasificada, información que se debe de guardar. Me gustaría saber cómo están desarrollando su seguridad, si a ustedes les gusta que la comunidad prácticamente ayude. Entonces, esto se va a hacer de forma comunitaria, la seguridad que se está manejando en el software va a ser por parte de la empresa. El software va a tener algún método de pago tal vez para que esta información sea mucho más resguardada que otras.
It's a good question. And in fact, that's one of the big challenges when you are delivering software that is so seamless. That is seamless across organizations. You can share anything with anyone under specific restrictions. We have worked on the largest companies in the world, banking industry, healthcare industry, and where data and privacy is very key. So we created an architecture that involves elastic security. So this layer sits on top of all existing security software that's embedded in applications.
Wow.
And it's the secret to enabling this interaction seamlessly.
¿Cómo han conseguido los locos que inviertan en estas locas ideas? ¿Quiénes son esos locos que son capaces de invertir en una empresa como esta?
You find them young. Not as old as me. Although you can tell that our older people are very young as well.
So I'd like to add something to that, people think that, okay, people are born crazy. But if you have incubation environment like Digital Harbor, we can identify craziness in people. Right? Many people have craziness, but unless you have an environment, you have colleagues, you have challenges in front of you, craziness does not come out. So Digital Harbor is a place where you can find your craziness.
You saw in that video, the people later also jumped up and did crazy things.
¿Qué tiempo les ha tomado planificar este sistema de tecnología para empezar a difundir a nivel virtual y a nivel mundial? Y dos, si se han planteado nuevos objetivos con Digital Harbor de aquí en adelante. Eso sería todo, gracias.
Bueno, ¿cómo lo hacemos? Usamos la tecnología mejor. Bueno, hay muchas cosas que podemos usar como Angular, cosas así, cosas bien nuevos, pero también estamos pensando de los microservicios, cómo podemos usar estos, cómo podemos poner cosas en AWS, ¿cómo se dice eso aquí? Okay, bueno, en AWS. Y estamos siempre pensando de qué podemos usar, qué nos sirve lo mejor, y de cómo lo usamos en todas partes del mundo. Bueno, estamos en todas partes del mundo, los desarrollamos nomás, y para que obra juntos, ¿no? Para valer juntos. Una cosa que es buena es que ya que estamos en todas partes y necesitamos obrar juntos, es más fácil, ¿no? Porque tiene que it needs to work. Esta tarde, lo siento. Necesita trabajar en todas partes, entonces siempre estamos desarrollando, averiguando dónde están los bichos y mejorándolo.
That's the reason why most social technology in the consumer world, getting that many customers to buy, retail is much harder than enterprise in one sense. And so we hope, and it's our plan, that when we release this worldwide, that it's the nature and the powerful social nature. You send something to someone, they get it, they actually can react to the other person, they see the power of it, and so it is something in your face. The technology is not something in the back.
So related with the second example that you gave, the example about social chat and the dashboards, I don't know if this thing is able to do in a bank, because let's put the example of Goldman Sachs, I think. That bank is, I don't know if it's also in London, it's in US and other countries, so I don't know if you can put this type of things into that type of work, like a bank, and I don't know how can you manage some enterprises that are in different countries.
Well, first of all, just so you know, Digital Harbor, the previous version of ours, our technology was deployed in 120 banks, including the one you mentioned, worldwide. 120 of the top 200 banks in the world for all know your customer solutions. We were the ones who created something called Know Your Customer, which is now a worldwide thing. In those banks, depends on how they will resolve it. So we have deployed in those banks, for example, sometimes zonal solutions. They have actual solutions because of the legal regulations that they have, that they will deploy something for Europe, something for North America, and vice versa. But some of these things are based on regulations on data compartmentalization. Our elastic security will allow them to actually go across zones.
Hi. I wanted to know what are the top 3 benefits of having all these features included in one app, these features that can already be used separately?
Well, you sort of answered one question, which is anytime you unify, so one of the basic tenets of social is make an application like a GPS. It follows you and it guides you at the same time. So we make the application follow the user. And as they look at different pieces of data, it is recording that, and it's allowing them to take actions across applications. It's your thought process. The software is in the background. So the power of that, it's kind of like example is, in fact, you kind of almost mentioned iPhone is one unified phone. That's an example, by the way, of multiple apps, different example, but in one unified device. And Uber, for example, again, I'm using the ones I've used, means that you don't have to think differently for ordering a cab, to doing the payment, to actually figuring out what the distances would be, to doing what's available, and getting orchestrating across drivers. It's one app doing 8 different functions that we normally would think. So by definition, when you allow things to happen in a unified way, you change the world. But most of the technology here is not available individually either. You can't do social text today, period. You can't actually work inside a chat, period. You can't actually collaborate within a forum, period.
Which has been the biggest challenge that you have faced working with Bolivian engineers developing these kind of applications?
Well, some of it is Bolivia specific. Some of it is, regardless of anywhere, there are a lot of challenges for something like this. Bolivia specific, I would give maybe 3 things. One is a language. Second is confidence. Most people in Bolivia don't believe they can change the world. They think that, they will be happy to get a job and that hopefully, learn technologies. But even they're always thinking they just have to learn technologies, or maybe do more research or do something to get there, more training, and hopefully then they will be able to do a job that somebody tells them to do it. We train our people into thinking by themselves, that they can believe and they can think. So it's that challenge. We struggled for a while, and then we found the right recipe. And now it is much, much better for us in Bolivia. It is only what you have to do is believe in yourself and be ready to learn fast.
Como dijo Rohit, muchas personas piensan que tienen que ser, vamos a querer gente que tiene los 15 años trabajando o algo así. De verdad, a veces para hacer la innovación necesitamos gente bien joven, ¿no? Y pueden, de la universidad, está bien. La cosa que es más importante para nosotros es tener personas que pueden pensar, que pueden innovar. Eso es lo más importante. Podemos enseñar a los demás. Si sabemos que son lenguas, podemos usar JavaScript o esto y eso. Sabemos nosotros ya que personas pueden hacer esas cosas. Lo sabemos. Lo que es más difícil es poder pensar y no pedirlo. No ir a alguna compañía que dice, no pueden pensar, tienen que hacer esto. No, quitamos eso de la gente. Tienen que pensar y seguir pensando para que no lo pierdan.
Muchas gracias a todos por venir. Por favor.
And one last thing, follow your dreams.